This is Abby from Realistic Kitchen and Gardens, and today we are canning the batch of lemon curd I made last episode. So, clean jars, clean funnel. With your ladle, we're just going to fill it up to the minimum head space it requires, which is 1/2 inch. If you have any bubbles, you're going to tap it out first, and then I have this nifty tool I got off the Amazons that shows you the depths. So this is from the top of the jar to your canning substance. Always wipe your rim, whether it looks clean or not, either with vinegar or water to make sure the seal will be clean. You just screw on your flat and that's it. While you're canning, you always want to keep an eye out for chips or anything. This ended up being a bubble, so that's fine. You can go ahead and can it, but chips will prevent a good seal. This is also a dented flat that I missed. It's dented outwards, and this could potentially prevent that flat from properly sealing. So we're not going to use that. Just grab a fresh flat and you're good to go with a prepared ring also. So the whole process of canning is kind of in depth and it all travels very quickly. So this is a process called steam canning. It is an approved substitute for water bath canning, which requires you to fully submerge the jar. And I can't be bothered to use that much water. My water is really crappy, so I have to use bottled water. To steam can, you use the same amount of water as your pressure canner calls for. This is my very well-loved pressure canner. It can hold 1 layer of quarts, 2 layers of pints and half pints, and probably 3 layers of 1/4 pints or 4-ounce jars, which I'm using today. So while you're making the curd, we need to be multitasking. You want your pressure canner heating up. You want your jars being sterilized with that water in the canner. And you want everything hot at the same temperature, because if you put a cold jar in hot water in a canner, they could potentially burst if they're weak enough, which is dangerous. This will not come under great pressure as if you are pressure canning, but we still don't need exploding glass jars. Everything needs to be clean. You don't want anything to grow. The whole purpose is to eliminate all contaminants so this can last as long as possible. Unfortunately, because this has eggs, it will only have a shelf life of 4 months. And I actually write this on the jars so I don't forget. But we have our clean jar, we put our substance in. This is again lemon curd. We wipe our rim, we move our funnel to our next jar so I don't put it on the counter. We grab a flat and we put it right in the canner to continue heating up. At this point, my canner is on low heat to keep the water warm, but not boiling away. This is when I am getting ready to put my second layer on. I counted, I have 25 to use, so it will need to be stacked. And here's what that stacking looks like. You can also use a dish towel if you don't have this separating device. You can see the 2 layers. This is where I crank my heat 2 jars before I'm ready. It's not under pressure, but do not take the lid off. Here it is popped, so now we set our timer for 15 minutes. This timer depends on what you are canning. Most jams and jellies need 15. Other things need longer times. Please use your reference material. This is once the timer is done. It has steam canned. All we do is turn the heat off. And we set our timer for 10 minutes so that everything can depressurize and it will be safe to take the lid off. Now, the canner is hot. The jars are hot. The steam is hot. Don't burn yourself. I take my oven mitts off when I start taking the jars out, but it is very easy to burn yourself on the lip of your pressure canner. So if you want to keep them on, do so. Also, when you're putting these jars on the counter, beware that you can brush up against your very hot canner and burn your fingers. I've done this lots of times, but luckily not today. We let these rest and you will actually start hearing them pop. the thing that makes the pressure change is coming out of a pressurized pot into the regular atmosphere. So you'll hear a click in just a second. That is a jar actually sealing. That is an official seal. They'll sound a little different depending on how many you have. I also have a special S-hook that I keep above my stove to take the separator out because screaming hot metal and it's impossible to fit anything in the canner without burning your hands trying to get it too. Now, this is, I wanted to catch a jar popping for you. So that when I point to, the rings are still on at this point. You want to leave them on for 24 hours. If you are suspicious something didn't seal, and a lot of times these will seal while you're just keeping them on the counter and wiping them off. This has no pressure. I am not putting any pressure on these jars. I'm letting the paper towels suck up the water. So once you're confident all your jars seal, you're good for overnight. Now, this is the next day, and I am testing with sound. Once you gain your experience with sound, you can tell what isn't an actual seal. This can be for multiple reasons, such as they were overfilled, you didn't wipe your rim, the gods just frown upon you because it's canning, but you can hear how hollow that sounds, and that seal was weak. You can actually hear on the second jar I pry off that there was a seal, but it was still weak. This is a reason why you always pull off your rings. Even if you don't see food dribbling down the side, there can still be food underneath, even if it's a perfectly good seal. That will just go rancid and disgusting on your shelf, especially because it's eggs. The last one is a good, strong seal. You can see me prying at it, and it stays on solid. And here is your final thing. Make sure you put the date you can it. If you like this stuff, like, comment, subscribe, and follow along for more.